Financially, you were broke and I still married you. I still went through with it even when I knew it was going to be a difficult road dealing with your kid's mom. She referred to me and my daughters as the circus.
Welcome to Loudr, the podcast that amplifies your voice. I'm Sean P., your host, and here we believe in giving everyone a platform to get louder. Whether it's your professional journey or personal stories, we encourage our guests to speak up on topics they couldn't voice before. Join us as we make waves, elevate conversations, and empower you to be heard. Let's get louder together. Hey, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of Loudr. This is the two-part segment with my beautiful wife, Soul. And where we left off on the last one is we really started to kind of catapult into our relationship. We had a pretty intense first year of our marriage. And then we were also touching on what it's like to have a baby mama in the mix and what that's like. So jumping right into it, one of the last questions that I asked you was if you had to rate our marriage on a scale of 1 to 5 during our first year, what would it be?
I said a hard one.
Hard
one.
One. So at least we got the hard in there. That's good.
Hard one.
Okay. So tell us why. I would love to hear your perspective and please, I encourage you, share all the truth. I mean, this is really what this show is all about, is giving people an opportunity to be louder in their truth and their mindset. So let it all out. Let's do this.
Why our marriage was a 1? Well, coming into our marriage prior to it, we were going through a lawsuit. Financially, you were broke and I still married you. I still went through with it even when I knew it was going to be a difficult road dealing with your kid's mom. That was mostly my concern. Mm-hmm. Because going into it, I really had an open mind meeting her. I really wanted to have a good relationship with her because I didn't have a good relationship with my kid's dad's new person in his life. Why? The circumstances were different. She was a mistress at the point, but I still would have liked to have had an open relationship, talking to somebody that, has an influence, is taking care of my kids half the time. And it would have been better knowing I had peace of mind, knowing that we were good and she was going to take care of my girls. So I wanted to change that. And coming into this relationship, I wanted a good relationship with her. So the first time that I met her, we were on our way to drop the boys off in Barstow. This is when we were meeting halfway, California and Vegas. And I remember you telling her that you were going to bring me last minute, and she didn't say anything on Talking Parents. First meet, she was nice to me. I was nice to her, and I wanted to make sure that she knew that I was here for the boys, that it had nothing to do with you, just between her and I. Like, she can contact me anytime. And
this was in person?
This was in person, and I told her, anytime you want to call me, if you want videos or pictures of the boys when we have them, like, I know how it is not to have your kids full time. So I would hate for you to miss out. And I think she was thankful at the time. And then a few hours later, when we got home, we got a message from her saying that she doesn't appreciate you bringing just another girl, and bombarding her with her, with me and her presence. And I was like, wait, what? Okay. So that was the first one. And then after that, it was when I went with you and the girls to Vegas to see the boys. She didn't like that, apparently. She referred to me and my daughters as the circus, which was completely so disrespectful, right? Like, she wanted the control of, like, no, only you get to see the boys when you come here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's just the beginning of it. So I let a lot of things go, and just watching your guys' relationship unfold in front of me, watching her do all the things that she was doing to you. So it was really hard for me not to take it personal because it was affecting us. It was affecting your mood. So then I was feeding off of that, plans that we had that would ruin because she just didn't feel like it, or she had plans or whatever it was, So there were just so many instances that's how it started.
So for you, I'm sure you could really relate because in your situation, you actually had the female who was deceitful and knew what she was doing in having an affair with a married man that just had brand new kids.
Yeah.
This woman knew what she was doing every day, every time that there were phone calls, every text message or email, every time
she
that
had a
they
boyfriend. She was living with her boyfriend.
That sounds fitting.
Yeah.
So for you, I mean, as a woman, I would think that that's how you would act to another woman, you know, when those opportunities came up. And maybe you did when you guys first split.
I mean, I
how
never
were you
really
towards the dad's mistress with the boyfriend?
Well, at first, like, of course, back then we didn't have a lot of social media. I think it was like MySpace or Facebook was just coming out. So I did some digging. I found where she worked. I called her one time and kind of went off on her. And of course, she just
I want to add really quick, and sorry to interrupt you, but so Sol is by every sense of the word like a Hispanic or Latino woman. Let me tell you, she is super fiery. You know, there's been times where we've gotten arguments and I'm not gonna lie, like I'll flinch a little. I mean, there's never been anything like there's never been anything physical between her and I, but you know, the whole like taking off the chancla and throwing it, like that's a program. So
it's a true story.
I would hate to be on that side.
Well, back then, I think I wasn't in control so much of my emotions. I was very reactive. So yeah, I was pissed, you know, like this woman came in and basically took my husband, you know, and looking at the bigger picture, if you can take my husband, keep him, you know, here you go. But at the time, you know, like, how dare you come into my world. Now you're messing with my kids, you know, my future, our future. So yeah, she got a phone call from me, you know, and that was probably the only time I've ever talked to her.
So how long did it take for you to kind of take a step back and be like, you know what, me acting this way or me giving her a hard time or whatever it might be, might just be a toxic reality for my girls. And maybe that's not the best. Because at a certain point, like with all situations, you have to take accountability for yourself. And you need to understand, like, if you're dealing with your kids, that is the main priority. That's the main focus, whether you want to be upset or not. And it kind of transitions to what we're talking about with my kid's mom, is the sheer fact that she could never even get past the fact that what she was doing was affecting our boys, you know? So how did you get past that?
It took me years, honestly. Like, I was super bitter for a while. I was bitter and immature. Honestly, I was a bitter ex-wife. I think I was just mostly sad that I didn't have my girls. So that was where I was more reactive. So her and I have only had a handful of interactions. The most interactions we've had has been this past year. Girls graduating, you know, things like that, like cheer. But it's never been a pleasant meet. I've never had a word with her. One time I think I said hi to her and she looked at me up and down like I was disgusting, as if I did something to her, you know. But
as if you threw trash in front of her house.
Exactly, right? But I mean, ultimately, I think I had to, in my mind, I think she's always been maybe a little, like, I don't know if she intimidated, because I think she knows if I wanted her dude back, I could. And I think that deep down inside, that was like maybe the main reason of her rudeness and her being so short with me.
I wonder if she ever knew, like, that he was trying to get back with you, like, on the side.
Know.
She had to have known, because, I mean,
look at how you guys met.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
I mean, it's in him and then it's in you.
Right.
You know, so I've known that there's been infidelity there, you know, by her part. So how they're still together, it's beyond me.
Whatever.
So that's just the people that they are.
Yeah. So our relationship, we'll let's kind of conclude that, right? Like what we went through for this last year, because I want to be able to show our listeners really, like, no matter what, man, there's a choice that you need to make in your mindset, and especially when you're in a marriage, you have to give grace. There's certain things that when you marry somebody, you owe to them, you know? And whether you practice that or not is really the final choice. And it's not easy. It's super, super difficult. So,
Of course it is.
if you will, kind of give us like a quick bullet point of our first year of marriage. Like, where was Sean? Where was Soul? What were we dealing with in terms of distance? And if you have any questions for me, you can ask me as well. And you know, what was it that? How do you think we got over past the hump? You know, to where we are now.
Well, first year we're going through a lawsuit. Just, friends that screwed us over. Both lawsuits, one for you, one for me.
Yeah.
We went through that. The distance that we had, financially, basically we were just one-sided.
Can you clarify the distance?
You were in Vegas and I was still in California.
Why was I in Vegas?
For the boys.
Okay.
You were going for half custody, so you really had to prove that you were in Vegas, because narrative of mom was he's not here full time. So you were in Vegas. I was in California. I was always just on high alert. I think I was always just stressed out. My stomach was never at ease. Just like wondering where you were because we weren't talking. We would go a week maybe without talking because it was a chase, like a cat and mouse.
And the longest time we went without having sex was
2 months.
So to add to that,
Yeah, there was like the physical connection wasn't there, and it's so important, especially.
Hell yeah.
It's so important because it's a bond. So if we don't have communication, number one, and there's no physical touch, no nothing, it makes it that much harder. So then mind starts wandering, like, what's he really, why? Is it me or is it somebody else? And not that I had any reason to think that you were with somebody else, but automatically my Hispanic mind, goes back to my roots to like always wonder, what's this guy doing behind my back? Because I need to be prepared for the fall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's where I always went back to. So yeah, it was hard.
Yeah.
So for you, what was the hardest part of that? Was it like the financial? Was it because you were going through custody battle or because you were away from your wife?
All of it, really. It was a time in my life. So when we met, you knew that my main focus was to get my kids back. Essentially, they were illegally kidnapped from me. And, the court orders that were given to their mom were super in favor for her. And, if you had to put like an odds match on that, the odds of me going and getting my kids based upon what was awarded to her and moving out of state were very slim. If I hadn't been self-employed, if I hadn't had certain benefits already, there are a lot of people who can't pull that off. And so, as you know, when we first met, I was completely focused on getting my kids back. I knew what it was going to take to get my kids back. I knew that I could not mess up one time. I knew that regardless of if I was going to look at a situation and go, you know what, I'm about to literally run into a saw and cut my arm off. Like I had to willingly run into that saw and cut my arm off. Yeah. And so something for me as well was, the way that how I grew up, my mom was a narcissist, and my parents were divorced when I was in 5th grade. And I don't know the extent to the game playing, but like my parents were super toxic, but my dad, he chose drugs and alcohol to cope, Yeah. And so he gave my mom every single reason to act and play the games that she did. Right. Yeah. And so I kind of experienced that growing up. So I didn't choose that path. So immediately I knew that I needed to choose a path of growth and mindset. And for me, I didn't even know what that really looked like, other than taking a look in the mirror at the time and understanding that, am I just another piece of shit dad that doesn't have his kids now? Yeah. Like, is everything that just happened the truth? I didn't understand the court system yet. And so that was the truth to me, what the courts ruled. I didn't understand the game that was there yet. I didn't understand that it's full of shit yet, you know?
Yeah.
And so I was really hard on myself. And so I chose to just dive in 100% into myself and made a commitment to my kids that I would not ever leave them, and that I would not allow them to feel my absence.
Do you feel like this was like her form of punishing you for leaving her?
100%. The morning of the day that it all started, we had a conversation that we shouldn't be together, right? She looked me straight in the face and said, "I'm going to take you for everything that you have." And so it was at that moment, I'm like, okay, I know what I'm dealing with. Thank you for telling me. So yeah, 100%
Was your punishment?
was retaliation for sure. And, you know, we can go into a million reasons why. Ultimately, you know, there's not a whole lot of talent there. And, you know, sometimes I think females grab onto, I think people in general, if they can grab onto a scenario or someone that they think can take care of them, then they will, you know?
I mean, I feel like also when somebody gets pregnant 2 months into knowing,
Yeah.
know, in a relationship, that's not knowing somebody. Like, you really didn't know who you were with.
No,
2
correct.
months into a relationship is nothing. I feel like you need 2 years to get to know someone.
Yeah.
You know, so I think maybe you start seeing red flags while she was pregnant.
Yeah, for sure. So just kind of like fast forwarding through. So trying to get my kids back was my main focus. And then growth was the second focus. I knew that those needed to really parallel one another. And while I'm going through this, I met you. And I knew I had no business being in any type of relationship. I knew it in my heart. There was a big level of guilt that I carried up until probably like semi-recently, until we got the boys, because up until then I didn't know, like, was all the sacrifice, was all the pain and all the hurt that I put you through, was it all going to actually not be worth it, but be worth it? Like, you know, could we put an end to the chapter, right? Yeah. And so I also knew that this woman was in full attack mode, and I didn't want to allow her to have the pleasure of me missing out on a beautiful thing, on loving somebody like the way that I wanted to. And so when I met you, although I was ultra honest and I told you, like, I'm in zero headspace to like really give you what you want, I knew that I could at least take the little steps, the little mind games and steps that I needed to take throughout this process and chip away at those. And one day I could give you what the person that you wanted, you know? So
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So it's definitely, it's been hard, you know? And so going through what we did the first year, you know, it was really, I felt bad. I didn't feel like a man because I couldn't financially like support you. I couldn't give you what you wanted. I wasn't present. You know, I wasn't pulling your hair the way.
Well, I think for me, that was like the hardest part, because I think I could have done this, you know, head on. Yes, I would continue this fight with you had you just even given me just a little bit, you know, and I kept on telling you that, like, I need something to hold on to. I need something to like really look forward to. But it was just so much tension. I think so much animosity building, you know, on both ends, especially like having this woman in the middle of it, knowing that she was doing things intentionally I think she wanted that satisfaction of breaking us up.
100%.
Breaking us up.
100%. I agree with that. And I'm glad we didn't give it to her, you know, and I'm glad that we made it through. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I keep on thinking, like, why would this woman do this? Take so much energy instead of putting this energy in herself and moving forward with her life. She keeps on going backwards and attacks the father of her kids. You know,
which I've never done anything bad to this woman ever. Like, I don't call her. Well, I left her. I don't call her. I don't harass her. I don't text her mean things. Like, I played the game so hard to the T of being a good person, because I knew that if I messed up one time, that's all that it needed was one time to amplify who I was to the cops and the picture that she was painting to, you know, these people out here in another state, like she was some refugee, you know, runaway woman, you know, to a new state. And so I never gave her any satisfaction, you know, and I know
and I wanted you to, and all I wanted you to do is give her a piece of her own medicine, and you said no. And to me was the most frustrating thing that I wasn't able to say anything or voice my opinion or put this woman in her place, and you wouldn't either. So it was so frustrating because there were so many times I'm like, I wrote notes just for me to process. I remember writing notes like almost like writing her a letter, knowing that I would never send it, but it was therapeutic to me because it was just so infuriating to watch this woman take my man's energy and time and thoughts and effort versus being here with me, you know, and here I am investing time, investing money, investing my life, my kids, putting my life on hold for this guy, you know, trying to move forward, you know, happy.
With zero promise, like zero.
With nothing. And here it's like, just like she was just like a mole that wouldn't go away.
It kind of brings me back to what you shared in our first episode with kind of like your track record with dating and things like that. Like, I feel bad because you had to have at that point thought, holy shit, here I am again dude, with another freaking douchebag, you know, like, yeah. And, you know, I'm glad that.
Well, the thing is, you're not a douchebag. You're not a douchebag. And I think be like seeing past everything that was said and done, you know, all baby mama drama. I knew who you really were, like who you are as a person. Like, I think I see that, and I get to see that every day. Everybody just sees just the surface. I get to see everything. And I think that's the only reason that really I stayed, because you are an amazing man. You're such an amazing dad. And I think that's what grasped me to you. Be like, God, he's one of the best dads I've ever met. You know, how, like, I would have loved for my kids to have that passion from their dad. You know, not to say that he's not a good dad, but the way that you are with the boys is just, it's my favorite thing about you. And I think that's why I stayed, honestly. And you're so good to my girls, you know, like I'm so grateful that they have such an amazing mentor. Like, you are their friend, like their great friend. You know, they call you sometimes for help. They bypass me. So I'm just super grateful that they have like that positive role model in their life.
So it, you know, something had to change when we went through that, and we'll conclude on, you know, what we went through with this other woman. But our mindset, being married, for me, I'd never been married before, and so I want to keep it that way, that I'm married to one woman for my entire life. I take it very seriously, and so we went a few weeks, maybe a month without talking.
About a month.
We were going to get divorced, and there was a
plan.
lot of thinking that went on through that time period, you know.
So what made you not want to get a divorce?
Because I knew that I made all these promises to you and that I had to keep them. And I don't think that I could really lay my head down at night knowing that I've made that many promises to any human being, especially a woman that I committed to, and not fulfill those. Especially when I knew that I had just got to a point where I was going to have an opportunity to do that. Like, why would I rob you of that?
It was like we were like quitting right at the finish line.
Yeah, and I'm not a quitter. I don't quit at anything. Like, you know, if I set my mind to something, I do it. If I say I'm going to get something,
you're going to get it.
I get it, you know? And so a lot of praying and a lot of just getting into my own mind and just saying, no, dude, making a decision. Like, this is some serious shit. You marry somebody, like, it's not supposed to be easy, you know? And so I guess I can ask you the same question. You know, I was mad at you for a lot of things, and I made the choice to just be like, you know what? Screw all that. I'm going to set that aside, and I'm just going to focus on love and moving forward. What's done is done. Yeah. And that's it.
For me, it was, I didn't want to let you down, because I knew that you didn't really trust women, really, because of what your mom has done to you, you know, which it's just heartbreaking. You know, your mom was not there for you. She turned her back on you. Your kid's mom completely turned her back on you. I didn't want to be that. I don't want to be in that category. I wanted to be the one that was there for you through thick and thin. Because if it would have been, mind you, if it would have been obviously something major, bye, of course. But it was just, there was a lot of obstacles that we could easily just move forward with. You know, it wasn't detrimental.
Yeah.
So that, and I love you.
Yeah.
I love you so much.
Well, I'm glad we did. And I think we're going to be able to show some valuable lessons to our kids and what commitment is and what growth is. And, you know, ultimately, you know, I want you to share. I know that there's probably so many females out there that deal with a baby mama. And I would love for you to just show and share with them like the level of human that you've dealt with. So that way they can understand that, like, you think you have it bad. I don't know. And at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, that person that is messing with you is in the same exact spot that they were in day one, and they can't touch you. So please indulge.
From her stalking me on social media after being blocked from everything, using it against me again in court, which was like pathetic because there was nothing, nothing, like it was nothing bad. So she was just trying to prove a point that we're not moving to Vegas. I'm like, yes, we are. Okay. I mean, from freezing my bank account, there was a payment that you had to make that I used my check in. You gave me the cash. I sent a check. So she has my check number, my account number. So eventually she ended up using that as we didn't make a payment for something. And obviously it wasn't true. She was just not cashing those checks. Right. So my bank account gets frozen, $5,000. What? You know, so finding out it was her, it took the level of her, the way that I felt about her was from here to here of intense feelings that I have for this woman. I couldn't believe that you went that low. Like I was embarrassed for her, you know? So that one was a big one for me, you know? And that doesn't even count the numerous times that she was recording your FaceTime conversations with the boys. You know, she would be in the background making faces at us, you know, and just getting loud in public. What else does she do? She's just always been rude to me. She's been nothing but sarcastic. And for what? You know, like there's no reason. I'm like, I had nothing to do with you guys breaking up. I came in years later. I love your boys. If I was her, I would be like, you know what? This woman's going to be in my kid's life. I want to be friends with her, at least be cool with her so she doesn't take her aggression out with them. Yeah. I wouldn't do that because when I see the boys, I don't see her. I see you, only you. But if I was her, I would be a little bit smarter, you know, like maybe not friends, but let's be cool. Like, let me not do you dirty. That way you love my boys. I would think that would be what she wanted, but unfortunately, she's done me dirty. She's done you dirty. And at this point, I had to tell myself, like, you know what? I just have to look at her as like she's a sick person. She's a sick individual. She's got a sick soul, a sick mind, and no morals. You know, so when she does things or where she texts you and just goes off, I have to look at her and be like, man, I feel bad for her. You know, like, because the level of stupidity is I can't even imagine living with somebody like that or living with that unhappiness. So I would just really just recommend looking at this person like they're sick and moving on with your life and let them be, because they're going to be at the same spot next year and the following year, and you're just going to surpass them, and it doesn't even matter. What they do, it won't even matter. And what's really sad is that the boys are going to grow up knowing what their mom did to their dad. And she's going to have to live with that, you know, ultimately. And you and I are going to sit here knowing that we have a clear conscience. Yeah. We've loved on them. We've protected them. We've fought for them. Yeah. And that's all they're going to know. They'll never hear me say anything bad about their mom, ever. Yeah. You know, maybe later on they'll see this podcast, but they'll know that everything that I've done, everything that I've held back from saying to her has been for the love that I have for them. And someday maybe maybe one day her and I can shake hands, when the boys are super successful and they're amazing men, I will take a little bit of credit for that.
God, yeah, as you should. So to wrap this up, what would be the main piece of advice that you would give to another female that is dealing with this, and to help her get through with her man, like with the patience and
I guess I would be like, weigh it out. Is he worth it? Is he worth the battle that you're about to embark? Because if he's not, why?
Yeah.
Just move on with your life and just find somebody that's going to be either doesn't have a kid's mom, or they're grown and she's moved on and she's happy and it's healthy. Because if not, you're in for some bullshit, And if he is worth it, then you're just going to go through the war with it, and just pick and choose your battles and just look at them as they're just sick individuals.
So do you think it's made your relationship stronger with me?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, at first it was a lot of frustration, but I think because we're so past it, I think the bonding between you and I now is just making fun of it.
Yeah.
We just laugh at it, and here she is all pissed off, and you and I are just like,
moving on.
She's funny, man.
Yeah. Well, I'm really happy that you joined me these last 2 days, or these last 2 segments. I couldn't think of anybody else that I would want to have on as I launch this. And I think it's so important for everyone that is going to grow with me through this journey, through this journey, to have some really good context and some insight as to who I deal with when I go home. Who is the woman behind the curtain? Because they say for every good man, there's a great woman,
Well,
and so
I
you
will
support
always
me.
be, of course, I will be your biggest cheerleader. I believe in you more than anything. Even if I have doubts of how big the project is, like, I know your heart and I know how much passion you have. And hearing you for years saying, I know, like, I just want to help people. I just want to help a dude that's going through the same thing that I'm going through. Even if I just help one guy, that's all I want to do. And it wasn't even a podcast. We didn't know what it was until recently.
Yeah.
You were like, this is what I want to do. I don't care if it's just one person that I can reach out and help.
Yeah.
So I think you're a great person to help these dudes because you've lived it.
Yeah. Well, I think you're going to help some females that are listening to this as well. I think it's important to get that other side of the story as well. And so, again, thank you. I want to encourage everybody, if you're going through a situation that unfortunately you're being silenced, you can't talk about it because it's going to jeopardize maybe your end goal. And that end goal is probably super important to you. While you're going through it, there's many times that you're going to trip, and you have to get up. You have to get up. And if there's a situation that you're dealing with that you can't talk about and you want to get louder, that's the point of my podcast. Is I want to be able to unsilence people that deserve to have a voice, that deserve to be heard, that deserve to grow. And so if you're dealing with something like that, shoot me a DM, shoot us a message, shoot my team a message. And I would love to pick up your topic and maybe be the voice for you, maybe be that person to get loud for you. So thank you guys for watching, and we look forward to seeing you again. That wraps up another empowering episode of Loudr with Sean P. I want to express my gratitude for joining the conversation. Remember, your voice matters, and together we're creating a symphony of impactful stories. If you enjoyed today's episode, I want to hear from you. Please subscribe, share, leave a review, and let's continue making some noise. Until next time, stay empowered and stay loud.